let's go down and take a look at some of the other beautiful locomotives that you folks have in your collection.
The Climax.
What is this thing?
The Climax. It'll beat you absolutely to death.
Because it's kind of a bouncy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's out of balance in its cross shaft, so it bounces up and down.
Okay,
Between,
what's a cross shaft?
so the cross shaft is back here.
How does this mechanism?
This one's different than the Shea and the Willamette. I mean, the Shea, the Willamette especially, or the Heisler.
Okay.
So what it does is it's got its pistons mounted at a 45 degree, and they come down here and they turn this flywheel, and then there's a shaft that runs from one side of the engine to the other.
Okay.
And right here in the middle is a great big gear, which turns the line shaft that runs the entire length of the engine.
So this is that gear down here?
Yep, right back over here is the great big gear.
Oh, okay, I see it. Okay.
Yep. And so that runs the entire length of the engine. So
And then that powers the wheels.
that powers the wheels. Somewhere in here, it's out of balance. So when this thing starts really going, it starts making the engine
starts
hop.
doing the Watusi.
It hops. It quite literally will hop up and down about an inch to 2 inches.
Oh.
Yeah. Harry Wright, the guy that used to run it out in the woods, he'd come down quite a bit, and we'd take it out, and I was fortunate enough to be able to run the engine with him.
Okay,
The guy
so
that
you actually got a chance to drive this.
Yes, yeah, and so so we'd run it with him, and the old kidney cruncher A, that's what he called it, the kidney cruncher A, and he showed me where he.
Because it was a Canadian locomotive.
It was a Canadian locomotive.
So we
yep.
had to get the little Canadian
Yep,
eggs in
yep,
there, right?
yep. And so he'd show me where he kept his bottle of whiskey behind the radio and all that. But down here where these counterweights are, they're just not quite right. They're either there's too much or not enough. So as this gets going, when this thing's doing 10 miles an hour, this looks like it's doing 45. It's just flying. And it'll pick the engine up and set it back down, and pick the engine up and set it back down. And when you're running it, you learn not to sit. You stand about like this. And you use your legs as shock absorbers. And it's...
So that's where then the joke came in, didn't it? Because of the...
the bouncing up and down and
bouncing
vibrates
up and
and
down
shakes. And
Yeah,
when the guy asked, why is it called the Climax? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It has nothing to do with the fact that it was built by Climax Locomotive Works.
No, I understand.
It has everything to do with the other thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we just had to get that one back in there.
Yeah. So,
So a Climax is a different company than a Shea, which is
Yep.
a different company than Willamette.
Yep.
It's a different company than Heisler.
Yep.
And they all made these geared locomotives.
Yep.
So
it's commonly kind of joked that the Climax was the Kia of the industry. They were very cheaply put together.
okay.
They were very cheap to purchase, and a lot of logging outfits that had them, they just ran them until they were done, and then they scrapped them. They got rid of them. There are very few Climaxes left on the planet.
Because this thing ran into the 60s, didn't it?
It did. It ran up until about 65, somewhere between 65 and 68, and then it came out for special occasions here and there, and then the Canadian Boiler Agency said no more.
Because it was on Vancouver Island.
It was on Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
And then it got brought down here in the early 80s. It was loaded up and brought down in the late 70s and gone through. Down in the Tacoma Tide Flats at Murray Pacific's log reload yard down there. And they went through it, and it was the main, believe it or not, the Climax was the mainstay engine for the first couple of summers because the Heisler was always breaking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So then it got up here, but it got to stay here. Why did it get to stay here?
It was, so the story that I got was that Mr. Ferguson brought it down from Canada.
Okay.
And that when Ferguson and Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad split ways, he took his passenger cars, which they had been using, and he went to take his locomotive, which they had been using, and there was some lawyers involved. Okay. And because of the amount of money that was put into the locomotive, they sued to keep the engine because at that point it was several tens of thousands of dollars that had been put in the engine to rebuild it several times.
By the folks here.
Yeah, by the folks here.
And so we've made this, investment in this thing,
Yep.
and we want to hang on to it now
Yep.
because we've rebuilt it. And
Yep.
It's running because of us.
Yep. So basically, it was in a way bought. out by the organization.
Okay.
And so to not put too fine a point on it, it was basically bought.
Okay.
With some lawyers involved.
Just gonna help making the deal
make
work.
make the deal work, yeah. So it stayed, and a lot of people speak ill of the engine.
What do you think of it?
I actually kind of enjoy it. I like the engine. It's a
If
fun
we could
engine to
get-
run.
If we could get it a little more on the even keel, we'd like it a little more, maybe.
Well, it's one of them things where, as Harry said, she won't get you anywhere in a hurry, but she'll be dependable. And after running it with him multiple times, if I kept it below the hopping speed, I've personally, because of hours of service passenger laws and stuff like that, I've personally helped run this engine 7 days a week for 14 days straight without a problem. You can't push it.
So top speed is
About
7,
8.
8.
You don't really want to go much above 8. It'll do 15, but it tears itself apart
It tears
doing it.
itself apart, and the track, and you, and
And
everything else.
and it breaks. I mean, it's long. I mean, there was a guy, he built his own homemade whistle. He put on the engine, and it was so violent that it threw the whistle off into the Nisqually River. Yeah, the oil bunker is not physically mounted to the locomotive anymore because it's broke all the mounts. So when it's going down the tracks, the oil bunker just kind of jumps and leaps and does all kinds of weird stuff. And you can't. The seats in it are just, you fold the seat up and then there's a peg that comes down and you sit on it and it'll get to bouncing so hard that peg folds out from underneath of you and it dumps you on the floor. But as far as like for work train duties and that kind of stuff, which is what we used it for a lot in the early 2000s, it was a good locomotive. It'd go out and it'd do it and it'd bring you back at the end of the day and
Not leave you on a siding somewhere.
Yeah,
Walking home.
it would spit its piston rings out the stack at you if it wasn't happy. I mean, it's got its quirks.
Yeah.
It's got its quirks, but as far as like, for me, there's some sentimental value in it, but I enjoyed running it and being on it. It was a fun engine to run. It's a fun engine to fire, and it'll pull anything you put behind it. It's just, you got to realize that it's temperamental, and you're going to be working on it a lot.
Making a timetable.
You're not making a
You're
timetable.
not going to make a timetable. And
No.
that's the issue with the Willamette and the Shade, too.
Exactly.
Well,
They're
the issue
just-
with all the geared locomotives.
They're just,
Yeah.
well, except maybe the 91.
Except for the 91.
Now,
It's
why is the 91 different?
It's just the way it's built. If you look at this, you got an itty bitty little 35-inch tire wheel here. These are running a little smaller at 32s. The the Heisler here, it's running on 40s, big 40-inch drivers.
So
And
it's just going to go, it's just got a bigger wheel.
it's got a bigger wheel, so therefore it goes down the tracks a little bit faster.
Goes down the tracks a little bit faster.
And so what Heisler basically did, this engine especially geared 3-to-1,
Yeah.
we're geared to pull.
Okay.
Heisler went for more of a, let's build a locomotive that their selling point would be our engine, you don't need a rod engine to make the run to the mill because our engine can go 15 miles an hour, 20 if you really want to stretch it.
Okay.
And this locomotive is documented going 25 to Seattle.
Because this is relatively late. This was
This is 1930.
29. Was this the last one built?
No, it was the second to the last one built.
Second to the last one.
But it'd basically be your floor model is what it was. So
okay.
Whitney Engineering, who was the Heisler dealer, called up and said, hey, get us a floor model. And so they brought it out.
So this was in somebody's showroom?
It was not so much a showroom. It's sitting at their lot down in Portland.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
as close to a locomotive showroom as you could get.
There you go.
A
That's
big
what I'm
warehouse with a few of them hanging around. And so they ordered it up. They got it down there, and guess what? Great Depression.
Oh.
So it sat for years.
Oh,
And
brand
years.
new locomotive never turned the wheel.
Never turned a wheel. And then in the late 30s,
Okay.
Whitney talked to Kinzua, and Kinzua was actually in the market for used locomotives. They were looking for, something along the line. They already had a Shay, but they had a roughly 20 to 30 mile long run from their mill to Condon, Oregon, where they were interchanging with what is now the UP, XSP,
Yeah.
and whatever it was out there in the middle of eastern Oregon. And so they
Oregon or Northwestern or something.
could have been,
Yeah.
could have been.
Okay.
And so Whitney said, look, you know what? We got this brand new engine sitting here. and it can do
such a deal.
such a deal. We'll give you a steel on it, and it's everything you are looking for. It's that geared engine. It's your rod engine. It can pull a lot. It's got 44,000 pounds of TE, and you can make the run to your freaking interchange with it. No problem. So Kinzua bought it. And that's exactly what they did. During the day, it had one crew that would go up into the woods and get logs and bring them down to the mill. And then that afternoon, evening, another crew would jump on it, and they'd hook on to the interchange, and they'd head out for the interchange and drop everything off in Conduit and Condon and bring it all back.
And it was successful.
It was very successful.
And it ran great, and it was built
Yep.
late, and it doesn't have a lot of years of, not a lot of years.
We
of hard life.
put more years on it here than they did
Gotten
there.
to the point that all of the locomotives have more time in tourist passenger service
Yeah.
than in logging service.
All of them, with the exception of maybe the 70, because it ran from 22 to 60, 64.
Yeah,
And we're working on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
But yeah,
to her point, yeah, this thing has got more time pulling passenger trains than it does pulling log trains or timber.
So, is this the one that would be,
When it comes down to it, if you're trying to make a business case for us in case of like a third locomotive to throw into the mix, we have the tank engine, the 17, that
that's
needs.
right, but that's a little guy.
It's a little guy, so this has got 4,000 gallons of water compared to the 17's 1,800.
Okay.
This has got 1,500 gallons of oil versus the 17's 1,000.
Okay.
With the lengths of railroad that we're looking to talk about, the 17 could do it, but on a fine margin.
Because it would be everything it could do to pull that four-car train.
Oh, it would pull that 4-car train, no problem, but it's going to use a lot of water.
it's just, what we've learned from the 5 is I don't think we're gonna commit to anything before we do all the research and survey
Yep.
the options and
Because the
put
5
together
was
a-
the obvious one to fix.
Yeah,
When it came
was-
down to it, when you're
For
talking
us.
business case.
Why was the 5, and what was the business case for the 5?
we quit saying this is what we have, that's gonna be the cheapest thing to do, and we said, what is the ideal thing? What is the engine that can keep the timetable, that has the fuel and the water capacity? And the 5 was the only engine on the property aside from the 70. So it was, I think, the only really philosophical difference was instead of saying, what can we do for the cheapest, quickest price, what's gonna be the best thing over the course of the next 15 years?
What's the best economic value?
Yeah.
Instead of the
It's, if we're
most
spending
expedient.
$200,000 more restoring the 5 than we would be doing the 17, I think that we're gonna see a better ROI on that over the years, because then we're able to do a 4th train in the schedule, maybe even a 5th train.
Yeah.
Whereas, with the length of the trackage that we're hoping for,
Yeah, personally, I've been on the 17. We've taken it clear down to Tacoma before, and we had
17, Hammond lumber?
the
there's
tank
nothing
engine.
wrong with the engine.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
it's-
wrong with the
it's a
engine.
cutie.
It's
I mean,
just
there
it
are
can't.
things wrong with it,
Wow.
but-
If you're not towing around a tank car full of water with you, you're not going very far.
Yeah.
And that
So-
becomes the issue. I've been
When you
on it where
stop
we
for
left
water-
Eatonville. We've left Elby, gone all the way out to Eatonville, and then we're coming over New Reliance on the way back, and it becomes a get the boiler as full as you can, because the second we dip over the hill, we're not able to put water in all the way down to Elby because the tank's dry.
Yeah.
So we're drifting on what water we have in the boiler.
So it ends
Yeah,
up,
we don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
your watering time kills your turnaround time.
Yep.
Because you
right?
got to water it just on every run.
Then you end up
Yep.
watering more, so that, in terms of efficiency, when we are selling out trains like we are now, then there's a real big difference between running 3 versus 4 trains a day if everything's selling out.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's,
So it just like she was alluding to. It just what makes the most bang for the buck, and it's if you have to put another $200,000-300,000 into the 5 and have 2 locomotives that can do everything you're looking at doing, versus fixing the issues that are in the 17, and then having to do
Still-
a
and
monumental
still-
more work at the
It's still not
1472.
exactly what you want.
Exactly.
What we've learned from the 5 is that there's a lot you can learn from the past, but we also need to do our own research. We need to do our own surveys. That sort of the problems, right? Like the snowball effect of
Yeah.
they grow and they grow and they grow.
You get a lot of murky water, and there's the reason why we've done as much just research and testing on the 5 as we have.
Yeah.
So are you guys gonna look at another rod locomotive down the road
We
then?
don't know.
We don't know.
I mean,
That's just too far in the future, you think?
Yeah.
It's not in the current plan.
we have our capital plans done for the next 2.5 years, more or less.
No new locomotives in there.
We know we need 2 functional train sets, which means inherently we will need a 3rd engine, but I don't think we're gonna commit to a 3rd restoration until we've done a thorough survey and cost analysis and done things like looked at a timetable of this is what we're doing, this is what we can operate, you know, speeds, capacities, how much work everything needs. I mean, we're looking at it both from a restoration perspective, but there's also a significant amount of work that goes into making a justified business case for it, because if
Yeah.
we can't afford to maintain it, then we're inherently not preserving it. So if we restore something, but we're not able to generate money with it, then I think we're doing a disservice rather than keeping it somewhere that it's on display, that it's protected.
Yeah. And when it comes down to it, I mean, there's things like, you know, you sit back and say, oh, okay, is the Heisler going to be the next candidate? When it comes down to maintenance, you got 3 times moving parts as a rod engine.
You do.
So that takes away from its business case. Inherently, you're looking at, you know, 3 times the maintenance.
So before we make a decision on a 3rd engine, is we're gonna fill another 5 legal pads, and you and I are gonna
You
go
know.
back and forth for a year.
And, well,
Plus.
there's this and then there's that, but there's this and then there's that. And back and forth you go until you iterate to a solution.
Exactly.
And then, of course, you know, what's available in the market also is a factor. And how far gone some of this stuff is and what is
Well,
it
and
take to bring it
to be
back.
honest with you, is from a you know, mechanics standpoint and somebody overseeing a very large restoration project, yeah, when it comes down to it anymore, I would much rather go and pull an engine out of a park and rebuild it than go through something that somebody else has had their hands in.
And got it all, it's like, just like a house that
Exactly.
somebody did a Bandito remodel job on,
Exactly.
and now you're trying to come back and clean it
Exactly.
up.
Yeah.
I'd rather just start with
Just
the old house.
st-
And
exactly.
just start with all the old
Because
models and do it right
A
myself.
lot of
There's
the
a lot
time,
fewer mysteries.
yeah, a lot of the time, there are some locomotives out there that would fit our purview, that if you look at them from the time when they were retired and when they got put in the park, okay, yeah, they were band-aiding it together, but they were band-aiding it together with the standard practice of the time.
So it was.
So you can make educated guesses.
You can make a lot more educated. You're going to find some funky welding stuff in the boiler because they were experimenting with welding back then, and it was wave the magic wand, make something go away. You know, I found that in both this engine and the 70.
Oh, okay.
In the 70, for example, they just welded the air pump to the side of the boiler. They didn't have any brackets for it. It welded to the boiler. You don't do that.
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's welding practices were being developed. Well, these things,
Exactly.
so
You don't find nylotron bearings, and
Yeah.
and I think I can do this better than a technology that when it was retired had 150 years of refinement. So I'm going to change things.
And supposedly my new thinking is gonna be better than the old thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not always the case.
but yeah.
So then, okay, so then we're running the 70, and we're gonna have the 5 ready within a year, and then the 70 goes under the knife for its 1492.
72.
Oh, no, that was Columbus I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So how long is it gonna be out of service then, when it gets its 1472?
It's hard to say because you
6
don't.
months, 6 years?
It's not going to be, if it's out of service for more than a year, I would be surprised. To do a good and effective boiler rebuild, you usually try to say about a year,
Okay.
and that gives you fluff. With something like the 70 that went through a very good and intensive rebuild the first time that was done
But
here,
you know how it was done.
and I know how it was
Brian
done.
knows how it
Brian
was
knows how it
done.
was done.
And
The
it
people
was-
that did the work knew what they were doing.
Okay, and what year was this? This was, 15 years ago now.
Yeah, well, it was so what happened was that the first 1472 happened, and there was a crack missed. And so they took half the tubes back out of the boiler, which allowed the inspector to drop down in and look at the bottom of the barrel, which is a requirement of a 1472.
Okay.
and then they replaced half the tubes in the boiler after fixing the cracks. So the FRA allowed us to reset the clock.
Oh, okay.
Because it was 5 years into its 1472, and it didn't have it hadn't had a fire, and it hadn't had pressure yet. So they allowed us to reset the clock at that point. But that was done back in 2010, 2011.
And we've updated the rules and we've tightened down.
The rules are the same.
Okay.
The rules are the same, and a lot of the practice is still the same. We're following strict MBIC codes, ASME. And those are the guiding principles of boiler construction and repair of today, nationally accepted.
ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineers?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And
National Boiler and
it's National Boiler, I think, Inspection Code or something like that.
I always like these, figuring out what these little
Yeah.
acronyms
yeah,
mean.
I
you
don't know
know.
what half of them are.
Yeah, I don't
And
either.
so we follow
I
that.
know what they do. I don't know what they stand for.
And luckily for us, we have some good people that have been around the industry that we can bounce things off of. And so when it comes down to doing the 70, it's, we could be pleasantly surprised and be like, oh, yep, she's good to go for another 1,472 operating days, and just do a minimal amount of work and get going again. Or it could be we find something in there that's got us scratching our heads, and as a colleague in the industry has said before, if you have a question, eliminate the question, and we might have to eliminate some questions if we have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you're looking at a little bit more work, but
The other thing is that the operating schedule we have going now, by our calculations, we're going to be doing 1472s every
8 years.
8 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
because you're going to burn through them that quickly?
We're gonna burn through 'em.
With if things keep up
Find some wood.
the way they have. But that means that when we do it, we know that the running gear on the 70 is good. Sort of all the engine's quirks, but when we do the boiler,
Exactly, and that's the main thing too.
needs to be
Is
done
we
well.
keep up on the maintenance. It's-
Stuff runs better when you keep the maintenance. up,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's
just amazing how that works.
Unfortunately, it was and has been common practice in a lot of places where they use that 1472 and they say, okay, we're gonna do a great big rebuild, spend millions on our locomotive, and then they try to run it that 15 years with minimal maintenance.
Right, well, we did all this work, now we should be able to get by with no
but
maintenance
we're
and
probably
no operating costs.
looking at 150 grand as opposed to $1 million
Exactly.
when we get around to the 70s.
Because
1470s.
we are keeping up on top of them. Because you guys stop and think about it, the SP every 31 days, the SP's practice was to put new rod brasses and everything at every boiler inspection, at every boiler 31 days.
Wow, oh, that would keep things fresh.
Because look at the mileage that the locomotives were taking, and they were working tonnage.
Yes,
They were working them. Now, in the case of the 70, we are doing exactly that. Our train consist is based upon what it can do tonnage-wise. So we're going to be working it up against that tonnage line quite a bit. So that means we are going to be in there a lot, redoing rod brasses, resizing rod brasses, keeping up on things. Because right now, the locomotive is going to put down 63.5 miles just today.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even stop to think about it.
Yeah, we're not operating on a lot of track, but we're operating frequently.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a churn.
The engine spends very little time during the day actually sitting still.
I noticed that, yeah,
It's-
we saw that, we saw it's
Yep.
been in motion most of the day.
It's been in motion most of the day. It puts on 63.5 miles every single weekend. So how long do you go before at working tonnage? Every day.
And you're making
Every day, 106 miles a week, 107 miles a weekend. And we're not running 4 days a week anymore.
Because when you were doing that, now you're
Now you're
a
looking
couple
at
hundred miles a
we were
week.
242 miles a week. So to put
Without
it
switching or doing work trains.
exactly. So to put that into
Which you also
perspective,
do.
Yeah.
to put it into perspective, the 70 is making the exact same trip as the boys at the Cumbres and Toltec do, going from one side of the railroad to the other every day.
Oh, the Cumbers and Toltec? I thought they went all the way.
Well,
Well,
they're
they
60
go across state lines.
Yep, they go 64 miles
they
every
go
day.
64 miles
Mm-hmm.
from Cumbers to Antonito, but that's it.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
while we're-
It's not a commuter.
No, but we're doing that exact same route every single day, just on our 7 miles of track.
back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah. So we're putting the mileage up there with some of the big dogs,
rigs, yeah.
and we're not going very far doing it.
No.
So.
But, well, we can keep selling them out.
Yeah, and when it comes down to that, so what that gets you to is maintenance. We are doing the exact same level of maintenance that they have to do to do that dependably all the time.
Yeah. Because
So-
we don't have a backup, one train goes down, I mean,
We're talking some serious
some
money.
serious money.
That's the same thing as the
So
white.
that's your baby.
That
Yeah.
it's our baby. If something starts to tick, we're on it. If something
And we were
starts to
talking
knock,
about
we're
our-
on it.
CapEx list this morning of capital priorities, and Rowdy goes, well, the 5's at the top, and I went, well, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's the only thing we have to make money on. I
Yep.
mean, the passenger cars are the experience in many ways, but
Yep.
they can't move without
A locomotive.
a
And,
Yeah.
locomotive.
and riding behind a diesel is just not the
And
same.
yeah, we're just not doing that.
They're just
We're,
not doing that.
it's there. We have our business case for it, and it seems to be working out very well.
Yeah.
So far, our, back of the napkin business cases.
So let's go look at the live steam collection. We haven't done that yet.
Oh yeah, it's over there.
You ready?
Yeah,
Let's go take a look. This is fairly cool.
that's one word for it.
It's an obsession, is what it is.